Hey guys, welcome back to Project Bodybuilding. This is the end of my Arnold Classic preview series. We've ran through several comparisons now, which you can watch in a playlist on my channel, link up in the corner. Now it's time to make the all-important predictions list. I've already made my Classic Physique predictions, now it's time for my Open Division predictions. Now this is a list about what I think will happen, not what I want to happen, let me make that clear. This Arnold is going to be very competitive, and honestly, I hope I'm wrong. I hope we get upsets galore and all these guys nail it on show day, and we get outcomes that no one was expecting. But currently, after considering recent updates, past placings, and of course the outcomes of some of my own comparisons, this is what I'm predicting to happen on show day. With all of that said, let's not wait any longer and jump into the video. Here are my predictions for the 2024 Arnold Classic. If you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. There are 10 guys in this lineup, so we will have a perfect top 10. So coming in at my number 10 spot, I have Justin Rodriguez. Someone has to be last. In a lineup like this, it isn't that big of a loss, but someone still does have to take this L. I'm predicting Justin is going to stay on his current trajectory, which is not a good thing. Justin, for really the past 2 years at this point, has not been able to come into a show with good conditioning nor the peak he needs. And Justin is a guy that needs those things. He has a lot of mass and some good body parts, to be honest, but his shape is pretty bad. So when he doesn't peak properly and fill out those muscle bellies, it will hurt his shape even more. And when he's not bringing the conditioning, he can't outwork guys that beat him in shape, because at that point all he has going for himself is mass. It's really a shame that Justin has tarnished his reputation by competing so often with subpar versions of his peak physique. I really think his career high was early in 2022, where he looked phenomenal at that year's Arnold Classic prejudging and the Boston Pro. He even placed top 5 at that year's Arnold. But at this point, he is just a shadow of his former self, and his updates don't really offer me too much hope. He looks okay from the front and mainly in the upper body, but in the legs, especially from the rear, he looks pretty behind. If Justin has it in him, he can do a lot better than last, maybe even like 5th or 6th, but that's already pushing it because of certain flaws that are just inherent in his physique. But I don't have him in 5th or 6th because you're only as good as your last show, and if you don't believe that, you can make it plural for Justin. You're only as good as your last shows, and he's been very underwhelming at all of them. In 9th, I have Mo Shaban. Mo Shaban has been out of the game for a while, but that's not exactly why I have him so low. He does carry a lot of mass and he can get to some good condition, but he doesn't have a lot of separation typically, and his shape is not as pleasing as some of the other guys in front of him. And I feel shape is going to be a major factor at this show. Still, I think he carries enough mass to beat Justin, especially if Justin is off, and if Shaban is super peeled, he can maybe even pick off one more guy. But this is a stacked show and you have to have everything, especially shape. Coming in at the number 8 spot, I have Akeem Williams. Akeem is so difficult to place. I fully believe that he has that 2020 Olympia version still in him. And I did a comparison just a few days ago using his 2022 Tampa Pro version and had him in a lineup with Horse MD, Raphael, and James. He did very well. I won't spoil the video, you can watch it up here in the corner, but that version of Akeem was maybe an 80-85% version, so Akeem doesn't even have to bring the 2020 Olympia version to do damage. But will we even see something like the less effective Tampa Pro version? I have no idea. Akeem is really hit or miss. And even if he does hit, he definitely can't get past everyone because of his high lats, abysmal rear double, and his thicker skin, which he can't even completely get rid of on his best day. Akeem's recent updates did instill a little bit of hope for me. His side leg and that 3 weeks out side chest update looked very great there. But then I realized that even in his worst showings, Akeem's side leg was always very detailed. So I don't think that's a good indicator of how he's going to be on show day. And even in his most recent updates just coming out now that I'm making this video, I think he just looks kind of standard. All in all, his track record is fairly consistent, but it's consistently mid. He can get by on his normal package because he's so great, but in a lineup like this, I think he'll have trouble getting past too many guys if he's not seriously on his game. I think Akeem is a dark horse though, not the biggest one, but a dark horse. Like I said, he's hit or miss, but those hits are incredibly dangerous. But after re-examining his recent showings, I'm tapering my expectations. But hopefully that means I'll be surprised by him on the day of the show. In 7th, I have John De La Rosa. These next two guys I really went back and forth with, but I do have John coming in at 7th. I wouldn't look at this as a John is so low on this list. I would look at this more as the lineup is so stacked that a guy like John might place 7th. Last season, he came back from a torn bicep and a 3-year-long hiatus. And for a comeback season, that was great. He didn't really skip a beat. Now he's saying he's 10 pounds bigger and his conditioning looks improved too. With John being complete, just imagine that same complete physique but with 10 extra pounds. That sounds pretty dangerous, but I simply think John is going to be outclassed, to put it bluntly. John is great, complete, and will be improved, but I think we'll get more wow factor from the guys ahead. I think these guys above him will bring better shape, mass, conditioning, or all the above. I really like John, he's a great guy. This doesn't mean he can't place any higher. In fact, I'm placing him on what I think is the low end of his capabilities. I think his floor is very low because of how complete he is, and depending on what happens above him, his ceiling may be higher than what I was expecting. Coming in at number 6, I have Antoine Vaillant. Just outside of the top 5, I'm putting Antoine. A week ago, this wasn't the case. Heck, literally halfway through doing this video, I had John ahead here. But after taking a look at all of Antoine's updates, I'm very confident that not only will we see the best Antoine ever, but one good enough to potentially crack the top 5. I did a comparison a while back between Antoine and John, and we know both of these guys are going to be improved, but it was close even with those older versions. I had it as a tie game and ultimately broke the tie for John on the basis of more completeness, but I acknowledge that Antoine wouldn't need to do that much to overtake John, because of Antoine's height advantage, his great conditioning, and how much overall size he already carried. After looking at both guys' updates, they're both better, but Antoine has done more than enough, I feel. For one, he is diced. He's going to be maybe the most shredded guy on stage besides Hottie. And I saw improvements in the upper body. I'm such a believer in Antoine now that I think he has a terrific shot to make it into the top 5. If any of those guys are off, Antoine will expose him with this next level conditioning. And he'll be bigger and more balanced between his upper and lower body, so my hopes are very high. I do believe Antoine is the biggest dark horse heading into this Arnold Classic. Now, in my 5th through 3rd spots, we have a new tier of competition, I would say. I think a few select guys that were lower on this list can break into this tier, but this is largely going to be unlocked for these guys. The order I may have them in may be incorrect, but I'm fairly confident that these next 3 guys will be in the top 3, but out of the top 2. Anyway, starting things off, I have Marcelo De Angelis, aka Horse MD. Horse has great shape, and I don't think that'll go unnoticed. He can come in pretty dry too, but he has 2 fatal flaws that will hold him back. His posing absolutely sucks, that can be improved very quickly though, so maybe he'll only have 1 flaw. But the other major flaw is the rear double, and I don't really think that's going to be improved in time for the Arnold. His rear lat spread is literally amazing, but his rear double is awful. It'll probably be the worst back on the Arnold Classic stage. And the rear double is just one pose, sure, but I think we can all admit it's a pretty important one. I get it, all the poses are worth something, but that rear double is a tell-all about the back development for the most part. So I think Horse is what the judges are looking for. He has the shape and the size, and the conditioning is great. I honestly had him in 3rd at the start of this, but then Horse detracts from his placing with every pose he messes up, and he will lose a lot of ground with a back double like that. Maybe the judges can look past the abysmal rear double, and maybe Horse will improve his posing. If he does, I'm definitely going to have him higher, but as of right now, he's making too many mistakes and is missing a crucial piece of his physique. Horse, I would say, has a low floor. He's probably going to be in the top 5 regardless of the back because he has a lot of other things going for him, but he has a low ceiling, but maybe a high one depending on how you look at it. He can be top 3, but as of right now, I have him in 5th. Coming in the 4th place spot, I have James Hollingshead. James is looking fantastic, the best he's ever looked, to be honest. The problem with James is that he can't balance the 2 sides of what he wants to look like. He can get super shredded, but when he brings that look, he looks flat, and that shape gets hurt because of that. He can also be super full. This guy is a big dude, 270 pounds on stage. He can play the size game, but he can spill over, and that can hurt his shape too, and his conditioning. But I think he's cracked the code. He's been shredded for weeks. He got into his conditioning early, and now he can do refeeds as he and his coach see fit. This should allow James to maintain the shape to his muscle and still bring a freaky level of dryness. Now, he will be pulled back just a little by his aesthetics. I think he looks improved in that department by his recent updates, but genetically, he's just never going to have the smallest waist, the widest shoulders, and with that, not the best taper. But I think he will be undeniable outside of a couple of spots. James will bring so much mass and be so peeled that I think he can outwork his poorer aesthetics. As long as he doesn't come in bloated, his bodybuilder qualities will do more than enough for him. I do think the Arnold is going to live up to its reputation of putting more stock in the aesthetics and the shape of an athlete, but James is going to outmuscle and outcondition guys so much that some of these guys' aesthetics won't be able to catch them up. It's going to take a guy that beats James in the shape department and gets close to him, or beats him in conditioning and muscle mass as well, to take him out. And I don't see too many guys doing that. Maybe a couple can, but most won't, landing James in 4th. Taking the bronze medal, I have Rafael Brandao. Rounding out the top 3 in what I consider to be the 2nd highest tier of competition is Rafael. I'm highly skeptical that any of my 5th through 3rd spots can place any higher than 3rd. I think they will all be very competitive with each other, but the next 2 guys are in a league of their own. But I do think Rafael will lead this pack of extremely competitive guys. Now, Rafael has never faced off with Horse, so that is one gray area we simply have nothing to go off of, but I think Horse's lack of back is going to hurt him just way too much. And honestly, his shape is not as good as Rafael's. Horse still has very good shape, but not as good as Rafael. Now, Rafael has beaten James before, recently too at the 2022 Mr. Olympia, by several placings I might add. James might be too conditioned and too massive for Rafael to overtake on that basis, but Rafael is really helped by one key factor. The biggest thing going for Rafael is his shape. I'm predicting a heavy emphasis being put on shape at this year's Arnold. That's what I felt like they were moving towards all along, especially after the Olympia. And the Arnold already has a reputation of leaning towards guys that are more aesthetic. Rafael's shape will be unmatched, even by someone like Samson. Now, the shape alone will not be enough to keep James and Horse at bay. He needs a couple of other things. Rafael needs to come in with good enough condition. He doesn't need to be as peeled as James or Hottie, but but he needs to be in shape, and he needs to peak fairly well. Raphael is also going to need some type of improvement. The judges reward improvements, that's not a secret, but Raphael has remained stagnant for years. Now, he's done well because he's not missing any body parts really, and he's very complete, but he still needs more overall size. So those are things Raphael needs to do. He's got the shape on lock, but he can't come in off, and he needs to be somewhat improved. Raphael is definitely not known for coming in off, and I think his conditioning is where it needs to be. Raphael also mentioned that he is going to be about 10 pounds heavier than the last time he competed. I think if Raphael just sticks to the landing, and if he is even slightly improved, then the attitude of the Arnold will be enough to keep his dominance over all but 2 other guys. Maybe you say that's not fair, maybe you think that's a bit cynical, but this is simply what I think will happen. I think aesthetics are going to start playing a more apparent role in the judging. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I'm just reading the room. I think everything points to aesthetics being weighed more, and with that, I think Raphael will take the bronze medal home this year at the Arnold Classic. Now we are here at the runner-up and first place spots. We all know by now that this is going to be a battle between Samson and Hadi. I don't think anyone has either of these guys outside of their top 2, and for good reason. Besides Derek Lunsford, these are the best bodybuilders in the world. But who do I think will come out on top? Well, like I've been alluding to from the past couple of spots, I think we're going to see a big emphasis put on aesthetics at the Arnold. It's what the Arnold is known for. And I think the IFBB wants to expand the sport, and they probably think the best way to do that is to have a more marketable athlete at the helm of the sport. With that said, take a look at the recent updates from these guys, mainly Samson's. Hadi gave us a little sneak peek at a seminar he did. He's still looking shredded. He's Mr. Consistent. He hasn't come in off in years. But the wild card in here, the variable in this experiment, is how Samson is looking. Samson is in the best condition he's been probably ever, and literally after every single show, he gets better and is improved from each one. So Samson will be bigger as always, but he's looking to narrow the gap in the conditioning department. Samson knows that his shape can pull him ahead only if he has the mass, which he does, and if he nails the conditioning. Shape can only be the deciding factor if the other 2 areas are close. That's what I think happened at the Olympia. Samson is in the shape of his life right now, and he's going to be so massive. He doesn't have the best back, but hey, neither does Hadi. So Samson will be right there in completeness too. With all these things considered, I do think Samson will be the 2-time Arnold Classic champion at the end of this weekend. Hadi will be the better bodybuilder, I predict. He'll be peeled and just as muscular as he always is, but Samson will probably be keeping conditioning close enough. He'll be big and probably improved enough for his superior aesthetics to shine through and win this competition for him. Hadi is not out of this. Like I said, I think he's going to be the better bodybuilder. Unfortunately for Hadi, I think the IFBB wants something different, and there's not too much he can do about that. Either way, it'll definitely be an interesting comparison. These guys are apples and oranges. I'm predicting a top 2 call out with these guys, and it will be a battle to the very bitter end for the Arnold Classic title. Well, that does it for my predictions for the 2024 Arnold Classic. This Arnold will be very competitive. I think that top 5 is kind of on lock regardless of the order, but at the same time, I think 1 or 2 guys below that can really surprise us and sneak into that top 5, pushing other guys out. All these guys are going to be at least somewhat competitive though, so don't come after me if I end up having this wrong. But you're not off the hook either. Go ahead and leave me your predictions down in the comments. By the way, if you guys are looking for any high quality supplements, the ones I use personally, look no further than Arms Race Nutrition. Shop anything from basic subs like creatine and glutamine to ready to drink pre-workout. Whatever you put in your cart, be sure to use my code PROJECT10 at checkout for 10% off your entire order. That's code PROJECT10 at armsracenutrition.com. If you guys like this video and want to see more, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. And if you guys need a little help making your predictions, check out my Road to the Arnold Classic playlist. And watch my comparisons of some of the different guys in the lineup to make some more informed decisions on your predictions list. By the way, when the big days do roll around, check back in here on my channel. I will be live during both mornings of prejudging and the night shows on Friday, March 1st and Saturday, March 2nd. You definitely don't want to miss my live Arnold Classic coverage. Anyway, with all that said, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.
Gotta get that Lexi, yeah.